So hello everyone, we are starting a new course which is CSS. In this lesson we'll be learning about CSS, that what is CSS actually and how do we add it and what are its origin story. So let's study about this. So what is CSS actually? So CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. CSS is a standard style sheet language used for describing the presentation, which means layout and formatting of the web pages. So you have probably studied about HTML, that's why you are here. And after HTML, you know that we can easily create HTML pages, but for styling them, we need to add some CSS. So basically, CSS is used for designing and giving HTML a more beautiful look. So we can design HTML pages or web pages with this CSS. So CSS is our helper in designing the HTML pages. How the CSS started actually. So before CSS, actually HTML documents were contained within the HTML markup. So all the style information was used inside the HTML. There was no separate way of adding styles in HTML pages. So after that, after a long studying of the engineers, they decided to create a CSS, and it was introduced in 1996 by W3C, which is World Wide Web Consortium, which manages and maintains its CSS. It maintains that. So W3C actually maintains CSS, and it was designed to enable separation of presentation and content. So content will be in actually HTML pages, and our presentation or our layout and styling, all of the information will be in the separate way or in separate place. So now web designers can move the formatting information of the web pages to a separate style sheet, which results in considerably simpler HTML markup and better maintainability. So now the HTML code is a little bit shorter. That's why CSS helped in that. So to make the HTML markups very small and neat and clean. That's why we use CSS. So to smaller the size of HTML, we cannot include all the CSS or all the styling inside that. So that's what we did in CSS. So actually we can define the CSS or the style information in separate file as well. That's why it reduces the size of our HTML file. What you can do with CSS actually. So there are a lot of things you can do with CSS. You can easily apply same style rules on multiple elements. You can give multiple tags the same styling. You can control the presentation of multiple pages of a website with a single style sheet. With one single style sheet, you can design many pages if you want. You can present the same page differently on different devices. You can make the page look differently in different devices. For example, in mobile screen you can show your web page a different look, and in the web or in tablet mode you can show it differently. So that's the feature CSS provides. You can present the same thing differently, and you can style dynamic states of elements such as hover, focus, etc. We learn all this thing in CSS actually. So we can define hover properties or hover pseudo classes. We'll learn about them in the later video. You can change the position of an element on a web page without changing the markup. You can alter the display of existing HTML elements. You can hide them or show them. You can transform elements like scale, rotate, skew, etc. You can make them 2D or 3D. Uh, Means you can rotate them, you can scale them, you can skew them. These kind of behavior you can perform with CSS. So any element can be like modified like this. So you can rotate any heading or any div or any image. You can like scale them or increase the size of them. You can create animation and transition effects also uh, without using any JavaScript. Only with the CSS we can do that. There are keyframes and some additional things are there. So you can do with that. You can create print friendly version of your web pages. So you can create very good pages which are good when you are printing those pages. So that's also good for that. So that's why CSS helps in that. What are the advantages of using CSS? CSS saves a lot of time. The first advantage, because now we can easily use one style information for all the elements on which we want to reuse them. So we need to only define one style information and then we can reuse them inside different elements. Easy maintenance. It is very easy to maintain CSS because we can store them into different files, so we can easily manage them. Pages load faster because CSS enables multiple pages to share the formatting information, which reduces complexity and repetition in the structural contents of the document. It significantly reduces the file transfer size, which results in a faster page loading. So actually, we can define one CSS file to multiple HTML pages that reduces its size. That's why the HTML pages are loaded fastly or quickly. Superior styles to HTML. So we can define CSS styles in or style information in HTML superior to HTML or before the HTML is loaded. So we can define that before HTML is loaded actually. Multiple device compatibility. We can show this CSS information for different device differently. So for in the web or in the tablet mode, we can show differently. In the mobile mode, we can show it differently. So that's it features. So these are some advantages of using CSS. We'll be learning CSS in the next video practically. We'll be learning how you can add CSS differently, like inline CSS, external CSS, and internal CSS. All of that in the next video. So let's meet in the another one. Thank you for watching this.